Yeah, no, I know. And look, let's take a look at the skills challenge here. This is another tournament, but again, the skills challenge has always been a tournament. So, or actually, it hasn't, but it was used to be a single. Uh, Back in, I want to say like 2006 to 2015, if I'm not mistaken, 2016. It was single. It was an individual challenge, but this year you got 4 teams. A little weird, a little funky. Obviously, you have the traditional now home team getting their team, the home arena. That is Team Warriors, led by Draymond Green and Moses Moody. And then you got like Team Rooks, which is also, we've seen that in the past by the pick 1 and 2, Zachary Richosset and Alex Sarr. And then you got these 2 random throw-ins. Team Spurs, you got Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama. And Team Cavs, led by Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, the 2 all-stars. Guys, now, this one, in my opinion, for predictions, I have to go with Team Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama. They are my pick. I think you're going to see Victor try. And then you got Chris Paul. I mean, he's one of the best playmaking guards of all time. And I think a lot of what what the skills challenge is who's going to try. If you guys remember last year, Anthony Edwards was going in there shooting left-handed. I think Wemby and Paul, I think they come out and try, and I think that's something they're going to want to win.
I think I took Team Cavs just to do the fact that there's probably Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley have played together for the longest congruent amount of time, and also are probably the most talented players on this lineup for the Rising Stars Challenge. I think Chris Paul and Wemby might make a good case, and I think that they could. I don't even know what the outlook is for the skills challenge, what they're going to be competing in. I don't know if it's the same drills and games that we've been accustomed to seeing over the past couple of years. So I'm very interested to see what this team aspect looks like for it. And I just really am not sure what the Warriors, Cavs, Spurs idea was behind it. Obviously, they're teams that have had success in the past. However, other than the Cavs, who are still the number 1 seed in the East, uh, these teams aren't really going to be in the final rounds and going to be making a long stretch, not going to be competing for an NBA final. So it's kind of confusing to me why they would choose those teams. Obviously, they probably might have they're probably going off of NBA.com's jersey sales when they made these teams, just due to the fact that everyone finding Wembanyama and everyone from 20 who started following the NBA in 2015 became a Golden State Warriors bandwagon fan. Everyone went through that phase in 7th or 8th grade, but I think that it's just a very thrown together ordeal, and I think it should be a lot more articulated when they're putting together these teams of who the fans really want to see compete in these types of ordeals. But I think that Donovan Mitchell has a lot to prove, and like I said earlier, him and Evan Mobley have played together for a long time, so I feel like they could walk away with this.
I think the most unpopular pick in this skills challenge, which is not my pick, I'm going to disclaim this, although this could seem stupid later. Who knows? Always does with these predictions, All Star Weekend. Team Warriors seems probably like the most unpopular pick. Draymond Green and Moses Moody. I'm just not really sure what the idea of the pairing was there. And I'm a little confused as to why this is, again, it's called the skills challenge. Skills, players with skills. I'm not saying, if you're in the NBA, you definitely have some basketball skill, but Draymond Green, a running joke is in his entire NBA career is the fact that he actually lacks basketball skill, tangible basketball skill, other than passing the ball and having a high IQ. Outside of that, it's like dribbling, shooting. Draymond Green, he's more of a defensive oriented player who really passes the ball well. So him and Moses Moody, another player who just fluctuating playing time on the Golden State Warriors. Steve Kerr, does he trust him? Does he not? Who knows? And I'm not feeling Team Warriors. I don't think anybody else is either. The rookies, My philosophy with the rookies every single year is, okay, are they going to try harder than everybody else because they're rookies? They're out there, they're trying to prove themselves. They're actually, if you look at everybody on the floor for the skills challenge, they have the lesser of the payday out of anybody. So they have more to play for than anybody. Although, of course, this doesn't really dictate pay in the NBA, but anytime you get a chance to show your skill level out there in the skills challenge, there's maybe a little bit heightened of a sense of going out there and competing when you're not paid, like the rookies are right now. But that leaves me with the Spurs and the Cavs. And I'm honestly torn on this because you guys make both great points on these two squads for the skills challenge. Team Spurs, they have Chris Paul, who's just the ultimate competitor, and Wembanyama out there. And I'm really not down with the team aspect. I want to see the individual players play in the skills challenge, but the team aspect does make it a little bit interesting from the standpoint of, are these teams ultimately, because they're in the locker room together all the time, they play together all the time, do they kind of have a little bit of a chemistry or a little bit of a preconceived motivation to go out and play? They know, oh, we're playing in this. We talked about this literally last week. Like, let's go out and do this and actually go out there and win. I am leaning towards, I'm still torn on this. I'm leaning towards Team Cavs because I believe Donovan Mitchell, he's almost as competitive as Chris Paul. I think Evan Mobley, this is where you're really, it's like you're thinking about it. You're like, is Evan Mobley, if he has to shoot the ball from long range, is he going to be able to make a shot? Like, is that going to actually be able to happen? But you also do notice with some of these teams, except for the rookie, I should say the 3 out of the 4 teams, except for the rookie team, you have a big man and a guard playing, a big man and a guard. That's pretty interesting with this skills challenge format. But I'm going to go Team Cavs because I think they've been motivated all season long. I think Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, they want to come in and win this particular challenge. I think Donovan Mitchell's competitive enough to do it. I think Evan Mobley is competitive enough to do it. And I think Evan Mobley, I think he's kind of on this tear of proving himself in the NBA still, because Evan Mobley, he came out as a Rookie of the Year candidate his first year out in the league. And it was Evan Mobley, it was Cade Cunningham, it was Scotty Barnes. And Evan Mobley, ultimately, from that point in his rookie season, kind of just leveled off within his NBA career. And he was a player that people talked about, like, I guess he's really not going to reach his potential. But this year, he makes the All-Star team. I, of course, had a couple of riffs with it, knowing Porzingis, our guy Kristaps Porzingis. We're going to mention him on the All-Star Weekend special because Kristaps Porzingis should have made last year's All-Star team if the NBA was going to pick guys off of record. Last year, they picked Scotty Barnes over Kristaps Porzingis. I believe it was a replacement pick. But ultimately, this year, they go, well, Evan Mobley has to be in there because the Cavs record. Evan Mobley has to be in the All-Star game. But regardless of that, we're going to touch on the Porzingis versus Evan Mobley conversation. I think Evan Mobley making the All-Star team this year, this season, this tournament, unfortunately not game, this tournament, I think he has a lot to prove at this All-Star weekend still. I know it's not the regular season, and that's where the bulk of the proving oneself and even into the playoffs, that's where that comes. But even when you get a chance to prove yourself in any setting, I think this is really where you do it because you're still in front of a pretty large crowd. So I'm going to say Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell, they're going to have a lot of motivation in this skills challenge, which, of course, later on in time may look stupid when Donovan Mitchell does the same thing as Anthony Edwards last year and he just shoots left-handed, or Evan Mobley goes through and can't make a shot, or Donovan Mitchell just see. And Franco mentioned this too. I don't even know what the format is for this skills challenge this year. I have no idea what they're even doing. They're shooting through the windmills. Are they making passes? Are they racing each other? Are they being
because it used to
I
be
don't even know
3
what's
guys.
happening.
Now it's 2. It used to be 3. Now it's 2. It's weird. It's weird.
The 3-man teams were terrible. I picked the Giannis, the Antetokounmpos that year, and that was just. I'm sorry for picking Thanasis because that was just a pure mistake. I mean, I'm sorry. Thanasis should have never been in the skills competition. And they, of course,
the other
brother Kostas in there. I was like, what's going on here?